If you want to know the best Lagiacrus Long Sword builds, you are in the right place. I spent countless hours playing with different builds and equipment setups to save you the guesswork. So ultimately, I can give you two amazing Lagiacrus builds which offer 34 to 40% critical damage boost, 80 to 100% affinity to maintain maximum damage, and can maintain white sharpness easily. But the kicker is the burst setup that combines the power of White Flame Torrent and the latest Azure Bolt's damage bonus, which is very surprisingly good and can deal god tier damage. But for us to understand how the two builds work on this list, we need to know how the exclusive Lagiacrus set and weapons effects design. The Leviathan's Fury or Azure Bolt 1 and 2 allows the user to proc lightning damage on top of regular attacks, just like what White Flame Torrent does. What the Azure Bolt does is it requires the user to deal with a handful of attacks and accumulate charges in the process. So ultimately, the lightning damage will proc and deal 50 to 51 flat damage on level 1 and 120 to 121 flat damage when Azure Bolt is at level 2. I believe that the number of attacks required to make the lightning explosion proc differs across weapon types, but as for my testing, the longsword takes about 6 to 9 hits for the explosion to proc. It is easy to know if you are charging the skill since your attacks will be emitting lightning particles, even if you are not using a weapon that inflicts thunder damage. Sounds like a broken mechanic, right? Well, it is balanced since when the Azure Bolt kicks the explosion, you need to wait for a whole 30 seconds for you to accumulate charges again and to make another explosion. 30-second duration is so badly long, so this means that it is not worth building around the Azure Bolt alone, but rather only take it just a bonus damage from a meta perspective. Remember, the White Flame Torrent has only 6 seconds cooldown, making the Azure Bolt cooldown looks like an ass. However, I do have a way to make the Azure Bolt broken later on, so stay tuned for that. The system will inform you as well if the Azure Bolt is ready to go again, so it is easy for you to track if you can make it proc again. Also, the biggest difference between Azure Bolt and White Flame Torrent is that Azure Bolt adds 15% affinity that will last for 20 seconds at level 1 and 30 seconds at level 2 when the lightning explosion procs. This 20 to 30 seconds added affinity is a nice bonus, especially if you are not wearing meta-defining sets like our staple Gore Magala pieces. The Lagiacrus exclusive weapon effect is Convert Thunder Resistance. As the name implies, it converts your thunder resistance for more thunder elemental damage. Like for example, the Lagiacrus Long Sword, the Heaven's Thunder, has a 400 raw thunder elemental damage. But because of Convert Thunder Resistance, having 40 Thunder Resistance will give a 160 Thunder Elemental Damage bonus on this build, totaling up 560 Thunder Elemental Damage on the weapon itself. Now that you know how these exclusive effects work, it is time for the actual builds. But before that, take your Monster on the Wilds experience to the next level with Mage Cactus. Mage Cactus can boost your progress by getting all of the best gear in the game with their 100% ban-free and legit services. Have thousands of golden tickets and armor spheres, or have the best decorations for your builds by getting their modular packs, or have thousands of weapon fragments for you to craft the best Artian weapons. With more than 15k positive reviews in Trustpilot, you are in safe hands. Use my code Samurai for a limited time discount on your first purchase, only for you, my lords and ladies. Learn more details by heading to the description. If you are looking for the best 4-piece Lagiacrus set, the Azure Samurai is for you. This build is not mainly just for longsword users alone, but can also be used in almost every weapon type in the game. This build has a total of 34% critical damage bonus, 80 to 90% affinity, with a minimum of 305 max raw attack, easy max sharpness management, and focuses mainly on dealing high thunder elemental damage. I'm using the Heaven's Thunder Longsword for this build to fully showcase what the Lagiacrus items can offer to the table. But of course, you can use any Lagiacrus weapon type of your choice. The Heaven's Thunder will give you a level 2 power prolonger, useful for longsword users and the like, and also as the mentioned Convert Thunder Resistance. For the Azure Samurai's armor sets, we will be using the latest Lagiacrus Helm Beta, Lagiacrus Mail Alpha, and more beta pieces for the arms and waist. And I do have a Dahad Shargreaves Alpha slotted on the leg part. Equip the Challenger Charm 2 for the Talisman and slot in Corruptive Mantle for additional firepower for this build. Decoration wise, I'm showing my exact setup on the screen right now. You will have 2 free 1 jewel slots in this setup and a single 2 decoration slot. Since this is a longsword build, I slotted in 3 quick shit jewels, but if you are using a different weapon type, Feel free to change these ones to your liking. Following the setup so far will give you a critical boost level 3, a level 1 Master's Touch, a level 5 Agitator, level 4 Weakness Exploit, and a level 3 Counter Strike. Followed up with level 3 Maximum Might, level 3 Thunder Resistance and Stamina Surge, a level 3 Quick Sheet, and a level 1 Divine Blessing. Wearing 4 set pieces of the Lagiacrus activates the mentioned Azure Bolt 2 for more damage potential. If you're getting value so far, subscribe to the channel. Liking the video and engaging in the comments helps me a lot. Join our Discord server and discuss role-playing games such as this, and I appreciate your support. In this configuration, Agitator gives 15%, Weakness Exploit gives 20%, Maximum Might provides 30%, and Azure Bolt's effect adds 15% affinity, giving you 80% affinity across the board. If the Azure Bolt's added affinity expires, you'll be leaving with 65% affinity. If you find this pretty low, slot in Razor Sharp Handicraft Jewel 3, Critical Jewel 2, and Expert Jewel 1 on the weapon slots instead. You will be losing firepower by removing the crit boost levels, but since we need more affinity to reach at least 69%, this setup is suggested. When it comes to damage tests, I usually test the damage of my builds by hitting the dummy 21 times and getting the average, while making sure all of the offensive skills are active. Food buffs and a Mega Demon Drug are also applied to the test as well. Performing the Crimson Slash 1 and Spirit Blade combo, we can see that the DPS range is around between 2400 to 2500 plus after several test runs. This is pretty decent and the damage is pretty close to my meta builds like with Gore set pieces or the Raid Dao Gamma for example. The damage skyrocketed a little bit because of the Azure Bolt's damage bonus, but given the fact that it has a long cooldown, it just serves as a bonus. However, the biggest caveat of this build is that you'll be seeing the potential of this build when facing enemies weak to thunder. But I guess we will see this build's potential when Arch-Tempered Utduna comes later in July. This build will find its way home to casual players who love to optimize their thunder element builds. I kept on comparing the Azure Bolt's effect to Zoshia's weapon's White Flame Torrent skill. There is no doubt that this skill is phenomenal, which underwhelms the effect of the Azure Bolt, but the thing is, what if I can make it work together? The short answer is yes, and I managed to make it work. And my goodness, I was surprised how godly the damage that this build can output, and it even surpasses the damage of my best meta set currently. But of course, there is a caveat. The White Flame Torrent will constantly proc every 6 seconds, dealing an additional 50 damage, and the Azure Bolt's lightning proc will kick in as well, giving you an additional 52 damage in the process. So while you are waiting for the cooldown of the Azure Bolt's added damage, the White Flame Torrent's additional damage compensate for that gap, allowing the user to deal this barrage of additional damage on top of regular attack damage. To make this build work, Zoshia's Blazing Raphael Longsword is a must as mentioned for the White Flame Torrent skill. For the armor set, slot in Lagi Helm Beta, Numinous Shroud Beta, and Lagi Braces Beta. The waist and legs will be taken by the Gore Pieces Beta. Equip the Counter Charm 3 and the Corruptive Mantle to score the highest damage possible. I'm showing the decoration setup on the screen right now, and we do have 2 free Jewel 1 slots once again, so feel free to use whatever level 1 Jewel you have. But of course, Quick Sheet is optimal for longsword users. Following the setup so far will give you the following skills. And since we are only wearing 2 Lagiacrus set pieces, we all have Azure Bolt 1 active, but it's fine. It is more than enough to make this build godly. In this configuration, Agitator gives 15%, Weakness Exploit gives 10%, Maximum Might provides 30%, Antivirus gives 10%, and the Azure Bolt's effect adds 15% affinity, 15% from Black Eclipse as well, and 5% from the weapon, giving you 100% affinity across the board if the Azure Bolt's effect is active. Even if it's not active, you will still have 85% affinity, which is crazy, so you will be scoring a lot of damage in this setup. The same test parameters apply to our damage tests, and my goodness, this build is ranging from 2600 plus, nearing 2700, which is already meta range damage, and even surpasses my Artian meta DPS build. It is so satisfying to see the White Flame Torrent and the Azure Bolts work hand in hand in dealing with damage. So if you are fighting enemies weak to dragon element, you will be destroying it like a cakewalk. The main drawback of this build is of course, you will not be using this build against enemies strong against dragon element, but these enemies are just minor ones and the strongest monsters currently are weak to dragon. Note as well that you do have an option to equip a perfect Artean weapon if you are fighting an enemy strong against the dragon element. And my test shows that this setup can score around the 2700 damage range, and that is a lot. But of course, not everyone has a perfect Artean weapon. But what if you just started playing this game and want to know the fastest decoration farming currently? Click on this video and I will catch you on the next one.